Story 1. My 29 female, boyfriend 31 male of 2 years won't stop talking about his ex who left him in 2014. I reached out to her and she revealed a dark side to him and he still attempts to contact her. 2 years ago, I started dating my boyfriend. We hit it off and he was nice, sweet, and we had an instant connection. A few months into the relationship, we talked about our exes and previous relationships we've had. I was married to a man, and it didn't work out, and the divorce was amicable. We were just too young and dumb to be married at the time. He spoke about his ex and told me she dumped him for some rich guy and how she was a shrew, a cheater, not loyal, and left him to be with a stranger instead of him. They were together for a year. Throughout the course of our relationship, he always mentions her. Every topic we have somehow turns into a conversation about his ex and how she's a bad person that would rather sleep around than be with him. He also kept mentioning that she didn't stay with him when he needed her the most and that she's a vile woman that's not to be trusted. Yesterday, I got fed up because it was 2 years of him constantly obsessing over his ex that left him 9 years ago. I then decided to do some good old social media creeping and potentially see what she's like. After years of talking about her, I got way too curious. I checked out her Facebook and Instagram. I saw that she's married, a mom of 2 with one being a newborn. She also has a college degree and she's traveled a lot. Her husband is very handsome, has his own business, and they live in a big house in the suburbs. I didn't see what vileness he was talking about, so I added her and messaged her. I introduced myself and asked if she was willing to share some information on her ex, my current boyfriend. To my surprise, she was nice, but I was not expecting what she would say about my boyfriend. She told me that the 1.5 years that she was with him was hell on earth. She told me how crazy and possessive he was, isolated her from friends and family, punched holes in her walls, bashed her head on many things, smashed her phones, belittled her, strangled her, bruised her arms and legs, deliberately opened the windows, turned on the fan, and stripped the blankets off her when it was below freezing. We're in Canada and our winters are brutal. Cheated on her, humiliated her publicly, harassed and threatened her family members, threatened self-unaliving if she contemplated leaving him, and would punch himself in the face and send her pictures. She sent me screenshots of his messages and pictures she took of her bruises. She finally got the courage to leave him, thanks to her friends who helped her devise an exit plan. She told me that she would save her money, keep her important ID at her friend's house, and she advised her landlord. She also secured a work permit in another country. He wasn't on the lease, so she terminated the lease early, to the understanding of her landlord. A few days before the lease ended, when he was at work, she left for the airport and left the country. The landlord threw his stuff outside. What's worse is that in the years he left her, he has not stopped attempting to contact her. She sent me screenshots of him sending nice messages to her, then a barrage of hateful messages once she didn't respond. He continued sending birthday messages, texting her mom, who eventually had to change her number. He also continued to add her on social media and email her apologizing to her and pretending to want to be friends with her. This year, behind my back, he sent her birthday messages and how it was nice to see her. Impossible because we don't live in the same place as her. She responded that he needed to stop messaging her because she's married, a mom, and really doesn't want him around. She sent me all of those, plus the multiple attempts of him trying to add her on social media. I have not spoken to him about it yet, but he's still talking about her a lot. I'm still in shock with what I found out about him, and even more shocked that he's still obsessed with her after all these years. From what I saw, she's a great woman. And I really think this woman just needs to get away. This guy is just being Jekyll and Hyde right here. He is just really a ticking time bomb. I mean, how long until this information, until this kind of behavior is focused on this woman? I really hope she got out of it. I hope there's some kind of a follow-up that says that. Story 2. A lady wanted me to put ice in my drink. I answered with stupid. I was chilling in a Cafe Rio yesterday, and I decided to go fill up my drink. So, as I was standing in line to fill up my drink, this lady and her maybe 6-year-old kid were also in the line. Right ahead of me, in fact. So the kid was about to go get his drink when his mom stopped him and told him to put ice in his drink first, because everyone gets ice in their drink. So he moved out of the way, and I went ahead to get my drink instead. I'm halfway through filling up my drink when this lady puts her hand in front of my face and directs my eyes toward her. And she's pointing at the ice machine. "Everyone puts ice in their drink," she told me as she was pointing at it. And apparently, I was tired as hell because I looked her straight in the eye, and without cracking any smile or emotion whatsoever, I told her, my bad, I'm allergic to ice." She had this shocked and confused expression. Then she and her kid just went on their merry way. I filled up my drink and sat back down, and after looking at my phone for a few minutes, I looked up to see her real angry, arguing with a random worker, pointing at me. Honestly, I decided it wasn't worth it, and seeing as I was finished eating, I just threw my stuff away and bounced. I woke up this morning thinking, what the hell even was that? Who becomes the ice sheriff like that? Who thinks, everyone gets ice? That's not a prerequisite. In fact, if it's cold enough and you're going to drink it right away, you probably don't need ice. Why? I mean, putting their hand in front of your face, that's really just, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you. Oh, you're getting close, though.
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 3. My mother kicked me out? Have fun throwing out your pillow. So my, 18 female, mother, 50-something female, kicked me out today because I wouldn't let her financially take advantage of me. She told me to get out and take nothing with me. Then she left. I'm really fortunate that one of my friends lives in the same building as me, so we were able to take everything I owned in about 3 hours. I've been seeing this coming for a while, so most of my things were already packed away. Now, a little context for my friend. She, bless her heart, has the worst body odor I've ever smelled. It's bad. Like never completely coming out of the fabric bad. And for the past 3 hours, we have been running up and down 2 flights of stairs carrying heavy boxes. So as we sit on the couch, resting and taking the place in before we never return, I allow myself one petty thought. I grab my mother's pillow and hand it to my friend. She understood the assignment. That pillow goes under her armpits, her back, her chest, anywhere it can soak up 3 hours worth of sweat. That pillow sees hell. We put the pillow back in its place and leave. Now, I don't know if she actually meant for me to leave or not, but when she gets home and sees my room empty, I hope she regrets chasing away the last person who cared for her. And when she gets in bed and lays her head down on the pillow, I hope she cries. If the odor is that bad, I'd probably cry too. And yeah, really, you're just expecting this person, just because she's your offspring, to just hand over the paycheck? I mean, no. I mean, it sounds like she's kind of lazy. Do you think she deserved getting the BO pillow? What do you think? Story 2. Am I the a-hole for packing my kid an inappropriate lunch? I, 34 female, have a 5 male son who attends preschool. A few hours after I picked him up from school today, I got a phone call from his teacher. She made absolutely no effort to sound kind when she, in an extremely rude and annoying tone, told me to stop packing my son such disgusting and inappropriate lunches. I felt absolutely appalled when she said this, as me and the teacher have, up until now, always maintained a very friendly relationship. She added that the lunches I'm packing my son are very distracting for the other students and have an unpleasant odor. I told her that I understand her concerns, as the lunches I pack are definitely not the healthiest, but the lunches are according to my son's preferences. The usual lunch that I send him to school with is small celery sticks with blue cheese and goat cheese, kimchi, and Spam. We're Korean, and he absolutely adores this dish. And spicy Doritos marinated in sriracha. I know, but he deserves a snack, and I don't put that many chips in the baggie. I ended the call by saying that I very much appreciated her worries, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to drastically change my son's lunches all of a sudden, and that it's not my fault if the other kids are distracted by his meal. It's very important to me what my son enjoys, and I want him to like my lunches. The teacher sent an email to me an hour ago saying that my response was unacceptable and that his lunches are just too inappropriate to be sent to school any longer. I haven't responded yet and don't want to. I want to maintain a healthy relationship with my son's teachers. I'm confused as to what to do. Am I the a-hole? It's great that you really do want your child to enjoy their lunches. I mean, it sounds like this kid could grow up and go on to that show Hot Ones, eat all the wings, and not even shed a bead of sweat. But I don't know. What does it say anything in the school charter or like the preschool agreement about what's going on? I mean, it sounds like they're just kind of picking a fight with you for some reason at this point. It's probably not going to end well. To me, it sounds like it's not going to be like the way it was. And something's going to have to give. It's really going to have to be you or them. Either you have to report them to someone higher up, or you're going to have to discuss other options, lunch with your son. Story 5. Take my ID and tell me, what the frack are you going to do about it? Okay. And just for the record, the person telling this story goes by the name Superb Raccoon. So when I was a wee superb raccoon, but still superb, I was in the Navy. Recently, we decided to go to a bar that had a decent local cover band. So we show up and I present my ID. Grant you, clean cut and close shaved, I did not look 21. But my out-of-state ID was no good, and all I had was my military ID. Doorman decides he can frack with me. This is fake. I'm keeping it. My eyes bugged out. Dude, that's a military ID. Give it back. Nope. Mine now. $20 or frack off. I can't get back on base without it, I said. Then you better cough up $20 or frack off. Oh, I see. This is a shakedown. Frack off, huh? Okay. Cue malicious compliance. Buddy, who drove and used state ID, drove us back. We went into the officer of the day's office to report my lost/stolen ID. OOD is a crusty old mongrel, but fair. Actually, a Mustang. He takes orders from the president and God, and we're not sure of the president. He might tell him to frack off if it's a stupid idea. He listens. My buddy backs my story. His eyes narrow in an evil, evil way. Chief, can you come up here? I got a present for you. I started to shake a little. Am I headed for a few days in the brig for losing my ID? Frack. There goes my any chance of bump to E4. Seaman Raccoon here says the doorman at Joe's took his ID and wants $20. Pull a driver and one of those jarheads at the gate and go down there and sort it out. The chief looks at me like fresh meat. Come on, you two. We're going for a ride. So we all pile in the van with a couple of Marines in BDU and sidearms. It's quiet on the way there, and the chief doesn't look too happy. Can't believe I gotta deal with this smeg. Well, at least I don't have to sit at the desk all night. So we rolled up. Place is pretty packed. Doormen don't look so tough as the chief stalks up to him like a storm cloud spitting lightning and two armed Marines flanking him. I'm hanging back. Raccoon, this the guy with your ID? Yes, Chief. Chief gets up toe-to-toe with him. Chief is short and wide, but is built like a brick wall. Gym muscle doorman takes a step back, but dude has nowhere to go in the little entranceway. Give him his ID now, or I'll start looking for it myself. ID is produced, handed to me. Doorman ignored me. Chief pulls the door open, looks at the room, motions for the Marines to make a hole to the bar, make it wide. They do so, calmly shouting to move people out of the way as the music and talk calms down. Chief grabs a chair, stands on it, then uses his parade ground voice. All active duty military. This site is now on the prohibited list. Pay your tab and get out. He gets down, walks out with the Marines tailing him, and half the bar follows him out. Very few are active duty this far from base, but many are reserved or retired. They don't like smeg like this either. Place went on the list and was still there when I was transferred out 6 months or so later. Yep, I fracked off. Hard and fast. Oh, trying to shake down an officer. Trying to shake down a military person. You just don't know what you've opened up. I'm sure that bodyguard had a conversation with the owners of that bar. And I'm sure I'm sure the conversation was very lively. Story 6. Illegally park and block driveways in our neighborhood and do it consistently while throwing a party? Expect what's coming. 2 years ago, a new family moved into our quiet little neighborhood and began their reign of terror. We lived here for over 20 years in this neighborhood, and except for these past 2 years, it's been wonderful. I love our neighbors. Except this family. This family just sucks. I'm not sure even where to begin. They're loud, they're dirty, they're obnoxious, their dog barks at all hours, they constantly yell at each other, they throw parties well into the night, they steal my older neighbor's paper, they actually train their Rottweiler to fetch the neighbor's paper. Impressive, but wrong. They throw their dog's poop into other yards. So much. They even cut my 80-something-year-old neighbor's prized roses for themselves. Who does that? There are about 100 issues I could write about in how we've all dealt with them, but this past weekend was my own glorious take on it all. Oh, and yes, we tried talking to them. We tried inviting them over. We've done nice things for them. And all we've expected is that they act like decent neighbors. That's never happened. In our neighborhood, parking is scarce. Most of these homes are classic 1950s with single-lane driveways, and parking is limited even on the streets. There's a busy road a few blocks away that has a great nightlife and popular restaurants, which means that at times, especially on the weekends, the streets can fill up. This family has 4 drivers and 5 vehicles, with only enough space for 2 in their driveway at a time. Constantly, they would park and leave their vehicles for days and sometimes weeks in front of others' homes. Sometimes leaving their driveway empty for no reason with all their cars parked on the road. I kind of believe that in itself isn't a big deal except for how and when they would do it. They were intentional about it all and would try to cause the most grief with everyone. And this went on for months. A complete frack you to everyone. After months of this, and no one retaliating or giving them the satisfaction of how ticked we all are, they started parking deliberately in ways to make it difficult to get out of our driveways. I had to have my husband come out most mornings to guide me so I wouldn't hit their car as I backed out of my own driveway. There were also times where they squeezed my neighbor's car on the street to where they couldn't get out. Finally, an older retired neighbor goes down to the city/police station and inquires about what to do. They found a code or law stating that so much space from the sides of driveways and yada 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 is required. So we come home one night to freshly painted yellow curbs outlining every house surrounding this one. A few weeks ago, my husband's car broke down and he had to get it towed. On his way back, he started talking with the tow truck driver about these a-hole neighbors and their cars. He tells my husband that if these cars are parked illegally, we should call the non-emergency line, and if they receive a ticket, to call him and he can tow them at the owner's expense. It's the law. My husband and he keep talking and even meet up for a beer a few nights later. They're big fans of the Blazers. Rip City. He's a really good guy. About a month ago, we met a couple in our fair city, and it just so happens that the husband is an officer. We were already planning on meeting that Friday night, and when we met, I brought up the a-hole neighbors and their parking. He says that he'll drive through on his shift when he gets the time, and if he sees them parked in the yellow, he has no problem ticketing them. Great. He also gets some of his friends to check it out when they have time too. Fantastic! We've been calling almost daily at this point about their cars parked illegally, but nothing was happening. That Saturday night, he sent me a text saying he ticketed 3 cars. I missed that text, so no tow truck, but I kind of figured with the 3 tickets they'd get the idea. They didn't. Off and on all week it was the same. This past Saturday, the teenage son threw a party, and everyone, I mean every single one of their guests and them, parked in the yellow of someone's driveway or blocked someone out altogether. Obviously, the little smeg told all of his friends to block our driveways or block our cars in. I sent a text to our officer, who told me to call the non-emergency line, and he'd be the one to look into it. But I'm scheming bigger. I call up the tow truck driver and tell him that there are at least 15 cars parked illegally and are all about to receive parking tickets for blocking driveways and cars. I let him know we are friends with an officer, and he and I scheme a little further. We have a solid plan. I call our officer friend back and tell him our plan, and I also mention that the party is likely going to be filled with underage drinkers. Now, I hate busting parties, but I make exceptions for the little smegs, and especially little underage drinking and driving smegs. He and I finalized the plan. Here's how it all went down. Officer and 3 of his partners go through the neighbors, citing all of the cars. Meanwhile, our tow truck driver friend has assembled a group of drivers in the nearby grocery store parking lot. My husband and I made an anonymous call about a possible underage party. The tow truck drivers start at the ends of our street, grabbing the cars as quickly as possible. A few alarms here and there, but no way they could hear it in the party. When they approach the house, my husband makes an anonymous call about an underage party in our neighborhood. Conveniently, our officer friend just so happens to still be in the neighborhood, so he and his partner go over to the house to check on it. As they knock on the door, lights go out, music shuts off, and the house gets quiet. At this moment, the tow trucks come in and are now towing the remaining 5 cars from in front of their house. I just wish I could see the kids' faces inside as they're all having a dilemma about what to do. Do they go out and bust themselves for underage drinking, or try to stop their cars from being towed? Or do they just sit and bite the bullet and watch $250+ go down the drain? On Sunday, they had three cars returned from being towed, and all 3 were parked just shy of the yellow lines. I call this a win. My husband and a couple of neighbors also spent Sunday putting up some new cameras. They were all very giddy and loud about it all. Something about all the lights and police on Saturday made them nervous. If that's what you gotta do, I mean, were these people thinking that they were just gonna rule the neighborhood? It sounds like they think they're like the main characters of this street or something. And everyone else seemed to get along, and it's just really awful when a house that you have invested money in, that's probably going to be the only one you're ever going to be able to afford, has some neighbors move in that are just this awful. For what reason? Really, for what reason? Was there any response from them when they tried to be nice? And just amazing how they were able to deal with this. I love it.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.